Now, President Trump is assaulting environmental regulations at a pace which is on par to be the most aggressive since the days of Ronald Reagan. Wow. Now, Politico has reported that in just 40 days, Donald Trump has made it easier for coal miners to dump their waste into West Virginia streams. That's lovely. Ordered the repeal of the Clean Water Act protections for a lot of wetlands. The Trump administration has also proposed massive job cuts at the EPA and is prepared to eliminate the Obama administration's ambitious climate change regulations. So already, huge assault on climate change regulations. Fantastic. Now, recent spending cuts Trump has ordered would also eliminate 25% of the EPA's budget, even sharper than the reductions Ronald Reagan oversaw in his first term. Not only that, but of course, following his promises to bring back coal, which won't happen, Trump is expected to overturn Obama's moratorium on new federal coal leases as a gift. And as a gift to places like GM and Ford, his administration is also expected to loosen vehicle fuel efficiency standards. So, because, being able to drive cars that use less fuel is somehow a bad thing. Well, the oil companies love it because then, we get to make more money on gas. And the car companies love it because, hey, we don't have to come up with new ways to meet these fuel efficiency standards, which means new technology and more money on investment and research and development. No, we get to pocket all that money instead and send it to our shareholders. It's great for us. It's great for the car companies, great for the oil companies. Not so good for us because, when you have a car with a higher fuel standard, you actually save money at the pump. So, fantastic. And look, not only that, but he's also targeting Obama's pledge to send billions of dollars to the UN climate programs. Those are also likely to be cut. And I'm quite concerned, or I'm quite convinced and concerned that Trump will actually withdraw the United States from the Paris Climate Agreement as well. Now, of course, that's a non-binding agreement. You don't really have to do what's on it. But us being part of this agreement is a symbol to the other countries. Now, all of this is bad news, especially at a time when the effects of climate change are now on full display. 2016 was, of course, the hottest year on record, following 2015 and 2014, respectively. In fact, I saw a recent story where in 2015, Antarctica posted a record of 63 degrees. Antarctica. It was hotter there than in New York. Really? Holy shit, man. But no, nothing wrong there. No, let's ignore all that. And we need to deregulate some coal. Drill, baby, drill, man. More fossil fuels, more carbon. Who cares? Well, there are some people that do care. In fact, Republicans care. This is from Christine Todd Whitman, who is a Republican who served as George W. Bush's first EPA administrator. She said, quote, I haven't ever really seen anything quite like this. She said as she warned that any effort to weaken enforcement of environmental regulations could harm public health. She said, quote, a lot of that enforcement is protecting people against, contaminated water, smog, air pollution, etc., etc. But no, Christine, he doesn't care about that. His donors don't care about that. Again, he nominated Scott Pruitt to lead the EPA. I'm sorry, did I say lead? I meant he nominated Scott Pruitt to destroy the EPA. Man, I gotta get my terms right, man. And speaking of the EPA, one career official in the EPA said many nervous employees are now living under Trump by two mantras. Quote, shelter in place and wait and see. Now, the official said that senior career staffers are being kept out of the loop on major decisions amid distrust from Trump's political appointees. So this is sort of what's going on inside of the EPA now under Donald Trump. One official said some folks have no work, zero works. Others, who the appointees trust because they are Republicans, are getting overtime while their counterparts are dying to even get work assignments. I mean, look at what's happening here. The EPA is not supposed to be a partisan agency. Remember, this was put into place by Richard Nixon. This was supposed to have one mission: protect the environment. This should be based on facts. However, some of the Republican appointees don't believe in those facts. They don't believe in the evidence, or more accurately, they're actually not paid to believe in evidence. Now, some career employees at the EPA privately draw comparisons between Scott Pruitt and somebody named Ann Gorsuch Burford, who served under Ronald Reagan. Now, Gorsuch Burford, right? That name should probably be familiar to you if you've been paying attention to politics. That is the mother of Neil Gorsuch, Donald Trump's Supreme Court appointee. Now, when she was there under Ronald Reagan, she slashed the EPA's budget by 22%, and once bragged that she cut the agency's book of clean water regulations from 6 inches thick to about a half inch. Jeez. Her tenure included being held in contempt by the House after Ronald Reagan ordered her not to turn over records about Superfund cleanups. So, Burford, man, real champion of multinational oil corporations. Not so much for the environment, which again, she was supposed to be a champion of. I'm not saying that the Democrats have been perfect on this, but Republicans, like Ronald Reagan, not so good for the environment, man. And now Scott Pruitt is continuing that fine tradition. And he and Trump, they are going to make America polluted again. And that is the whole plan. Look, you guys realize if you're like, yay, cutting these regulations, you realize that these regulations and the EPA itself, they're what helped clean up smog in LA. And why a lot of our rivers can no longer be set on fire. I mean, sure, we now have instances in places like Oklahoma where people can light their tap water on fire, but not entire rivers. And look, a lot of that has to do with, again, we don't have as many regulations on fracking. So again, now we're in a situation where we don't have enough regulations on fracking, and people can light their water on fire. Just like we used to be able to light our rivers on fire, and probably will again. Thanks to these regulations being absolutely destroyed. But see, this is the thing. We need rules. We need regulation. We need something to tell these companies that, hey, you can't dump that into the river, or you have to use a safer material. Yeah, we know it's a little bit more expensive, but my God, we don't want you to be able to light the rivers on fire or poison a whole bunch of people, because that's what they do when they don't have rules. We've been here before. But no, some people are like, no, corporations, they'll do the right thing. Bullshit. Look at the entire history of humankind. It has companies and corporations and people in power doing the wrong thing for years, decades, millennia, and relying on rules. And people have to put in rules to stop them from doing that shit. It's human nature to cut corners, unfortunately. Now, again, Trump doesn't like these rules. The corporations don't like these rules. Scott Pruitt don't like these rules. So they're getting rid of them. And that's what's going on. Rules like limiting greenhouse gas emissions from coal-fired power plants. Now, again, this is, it's Obama's war on coal. Well, coal is an incredibly dirty source of fuel. And look, those rules were more than just regulations on coal industry, right? And again, Republicans, you're trying to kill the coal industry. No, the coal industry is dying already. And those rules, there was a centerpiece of Obama's commitment to other nations that the U.S., which, by the way, is the world's second biggest carbon polluter, would do its share to lessen the causes of global warming. But so much for that. Look, if we don't do this, well, then why would China do it? Why would India do this? Why would anybody do it? I mean, if they're going to let America get away with being the second largest carbon producer, well, why is anybody else going to curb their carbon emissions? Coal ain't coming back, dude. It's not. Now, look, interestingly enough, I mentioned China, right? China, as Donald Trump would call it. You know, China is actually investing heavily into solar. They're actually becoming a leading manufacturer of solar panels. And they're selling to lots of other different countries. You know what we're doing? We're missing an economic opportunity. You want to win against China? Hey, Trump supporters, you want to win against China? You want to beat China? Invest in solar. Because literally, we're handing this entire industry over to solar. Or over to China. This entire solar industry. That's what we're doing. These could be American jobs. And look, you look at anything, right? When it comes to manufacturing, what industry is beating everyone in growth at this point? The solar industry. The solar manufacturing, solar panels. These are good paying American jobs that we could have. What are we doing? We're handing the whole thing over to solar, or over to China. And what are we doing? We're putting people back in the dirty and often dangerous coal mines. We're doing nothing but trying to prop up an industry that dates back to the 1800s. This is ancient technology. That is not the way to go. But unfortunately, under Donald Trump, I see us heading continuously into that direction. And normally, when I see something this bad coming in the horizon, I say, iceberg ahead. Iceberg, dead ahead. But in this case, that iceberg, the effects of this literally would make it melt. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.